All right, we are live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the screencast on Blue Ocean. I'm Liam Newman, and as a longtime user, I'm very excited about Blue Ocean and to have James Dumay with us today. He's going to talk about Blue Ocean 1.0. Take it away, James.
G'day. Thanks, Liam. So I'm here to talk to you today about the Blue Ocean 1.0 release. Just before we begin, I just want to tell you a little bit about me. So yeah, I'm James Dumay. I'm in Sydney, Australia. I'm community leader for the Blue Ocean project, which is the new user experience for Jenkins. And I'm also director of product management at CloudBees. Don't let that title fool you. I do write code occasionally, and I'm being told it's okay. So I've been building software development tools for about 10 years now. I've been at CloudBees and working on Jenkins for almost 2 years. Wow, time flies. And before that, working at another large company where I worked on a kind of similar development tool. But really, it's my mission in life to build really great developer tools for so that I guess developers can stop worrying about the tool so much and get back to doing what they do best, which is writing code. So for me, any tool that kind of gets out of a developer's way and gets them productive really quickly is the best kind of development tool. So I mentioned Blue Ocean. So if you haven't heard about Blue Ocean yet, it's not just a new user experience for Jenkins. It's a whole new way to use Jenkins. So what we mean by that is that we could have gone ahead and just updated the styling of Jenkins as you know and love today. However, given the opportunity, we thought, well, Jenkins was built over 10 years ago. In software, the practice of software engineering has changed dramatically since the inception of Jenkins, and so have the practices. So we really saw a new UI as really an opportunity to have a look at the whole way that Jenkins is used. And what that meant was that our mission here was to, so the practice of software engineering is constantly changing. So if you think back to even 5 years ago, containers and Docker and those sorts of things really weren't even on the scene. I mean, we were dealing with people running VMs inside of VirtualBox or VMware, and that technology just didn't exist, and the capabilities that that we all get out of it today, it just wasn't possible. And even sort of a little bit further away than that is distributed version control systems weren't a thing when Jenkins was created. So things have moved on significantly, and I think what's really important here to recognize is that the really truly relevant tools, the ones that developers will always keep in their toolbox, are the tools that integrate with all of the new things and take exercise the benefits of those new tools in a way that sorry, I'm going to start again. So sorry. So I guess like the best tools and the ones that developers keep in their toolbox are the ones that are the most relevant. And what that means is that the kinds of tools that people use tend to be the tools that integrate with all of their other stuff. So and kind of fit seamlessly into whatever they're doing. So our mission here really for Blue Ocean is not just to create a new user experience for Jenkins today, but it's actually as a sort of a constant renewal of that developer experience. So when Ultra Docker or Ultra Git comes along in the future, Blue Ocean's going to be there, making sure that you're productive with those tools. Or if a new practice comes along, we had continuous integration. Now we're working. A lot of people are talking about continuous delivery. if that new practice does come along, Blue Ocean is going to go there as well. So really what this means is that Jenkins is going to be constantly reinvented and made relevant for wherever our industry is going. And when we were thinking about Blue Ocean, it was really around this, practice of continuous delivery that we thought was very important to kind of, take a nod to and to deal with in a very native way. So before Blue Ocean, really the practice of continuous delivery was for the experts, and I think we've taken the opinion that it really shouldn't be for the experts. And so what I mean by that is, if you wanted to create your pipeline for your continuous delivery pipeline before Blue Ocean, you had to learn a scripting language, you had to be a Jenkins expert, or you had to you had to have worked with people who had built continuous delivery pipelines before you could create your own, right? And it wasn't very clear where to start. The tooling was very, is underdocumented. Sometimes there's so much choice in the tooling as well that it can be very hard to figure out, well, what tool do I even pick? Is Jenkins the right tool? If I integrate, do I buy a commercial tool to do continuous delivery? All of these sorts of questions really kind of left continuous delivery as this thing that people wanted, but really it was squarely in the field of the experts, the realm of the experts. And so we're really trying to, with Blue Ocean, we're really trying to make it so easy and so approachable to start working with continuous delivery that there's no reason you shouldn't be doing that. So I want to talk to you today about the Blue Ocean 1.0 release and sort of what we've been working on there. But before I dive into Blue Ocean itself, I really want to show you a little bit more about just sort of how our launch went and sort of what people are saying about the release. So when we launched, I think it was 2 weeks ago, the Blue Ocean 1.0, we just had like an amazing sort of grassroots surprise, I guess. Like comments like like a phoenix, Jenkins CI is rising again. This fellow was able to configure his pipeline in less than a minute, and that he had never had CI was never easy, was never this easy before. We got onto we had a great discussion on Hacker News. We had tens of thousands of views, on YouTube for our video introducing Blue Ocean. Great publications like InfoWorld writing about how Blue Ocean is putting a more friendly face on continuous delivery with Jenkins, or even continuous delivery in general. So it's just really amazing that all over the world there are all of these people out there who are building their businesses and livelihoods on top of Jenkins, and so it's a real testament to the Jenkins community, just how how big that community is, and how much they really love Jenkins, and they see it as one of these tools that they keep in their toolbox. So it's fantastic. And over the course of the beta, we launched the beta in September 2016 at Jenkins World. And since the beta in Jenkins World, I think we're now up to 7,400 installations of Blue Ocean. So that is not counting the installations since we've launched Blue Ocean 1.0. So this is amazing. So that effectively means that if let's just say hypothetically that each Jenkins installation is roughly one team of developers who are using Jenkins. That means that there's 7,400 teams using Blue Ocean today. That is phenomenal. And so we get the statistics numbers sort of at the end of the month. So we're just going to be waiting for a couple of days now, another 10 days at least, for those new numbers that come through from the Blue Ocean 1.0 launch, and I expect these numbers to be higher. So just a quick thank you as well to all of the people who tested Blue Ocean while it was in alpha or in beta and gave us their feedback. We really couldn't have done this without you. So let's get to the crux of why we're here. What if you could create your first pipeline in 30 seconds? Sounds impossible, but well, now you can. I'm gonna show you how. So this is Blue Ocean. I'm sitting here on the dashboard. So this is the equivalent of this page here, showing all of my jobs. And so this shows all the pipelines. If I go over here and click New Pipeline, first up, it'll ask me where do I store my code. So I can store it in Git or in GitHub. I'm going to pick GitHub. So GitHub, we've made this very, very easy for GitHub, and we're going to do a similar thing for Git. So I'll click on GitHub. Which organization does my repository belong to? I'll pick i386. That's my GitHub account. And then I'll go ahead and click New Pipeline. So we want to create a pipeline from a repository. And then we'll look at demo. And here's my online gem demo repository. So this is just a blank GitHub repository. I think it's got a README in it. So I'll click Create Pipeline. And what Jenkins will do now is have a quick scan for a Jenkins file. If you're not familiar with a Jenkins file, it's a file, a config file that you drop into your GitHub repository that defines how your pipeline is executed. The common practice here is to version that Jenkins file alongside your application code. I'll get to that in a moment. So I'll click Create Pipeline, and we get pushed out to our new visual pipeline editor. So this is included in the Blue Ocean release that we made last week. I can go ahead and create a build stage. So what I'll do here is I'll just create a sort of a dummy pipeline just to quickly show you how that works. Okay, we'll do a ping to. I'll do a test.
Hey, James, can I just pop in here for a second?
Yeah.
Can you make that a little larger? If we just, zoom in a couple steps.
Is that better, Liam?
Let me just see here 1 second. Yes, that is good. Thank you.
But there's a whole library of steps here as well that I can choose from. So I'm just going to pick the shell script one because that's most common. And then when I'm done, I can just click the Save button. I can say, all right, well, I'm going to commit my pipeline definition back to GitHub. So I'll say description, add a Jenkins file. Oops. And I can add it to my master. I'll click Save and Run. So Jenkins is now communicating with GitHub and storing that new pipeline definition as a Jenkins file in my demo repository. And here we go. So we'll just wait for this to start. And actually, if we pop over to GitHub, actually, there it goes. So there was my pipeline that I created, doing those pings that I had demonstrated. Now, if I say I wanted to add, maybe I want to go and add a parallel testing phase. I can call this one more tests. And I can add another shell script. Let's go click 4, localhost. I'll add this more test stage, and maybe what I'll do in this instance is that I want to test, because I'm making a modification to my now production pipeline, I'll probably want to make that modification on a branch and ensure that like it actually works before using it on master. So I can say add more tests stage. I'll just save and run. We'll pop back to GitHub in just a second. There we go. So you can see here now that Jenkins has automatically picked up my new branch, which is topic add more test stage. If I click inside here, I can see that the more tests parallel stage is now executing, and it's following along all the way out to the deploy. Now, if I head back over to GitHub, it's actually put what we call a declarative Jenkins file in my repository. So I'll just zoom in here so it's easy for you guys to have a look at. So you can see that when we first created this pipeline, we defined 3 stages: build, test, deploy. We had different steps in between them. So these could be anything. So, but typically, like if you were invoking make or Maven, you could do that with a shell step script, and you can have as many steps within a stage as you like. Commonly,
James, I'm sorry, I'm going to hop in again. Basically, whenever you feel like you've got it big enough, just do one more than that. So one step more zoom, please.
Oh, yeah, no problem.
Great, thanks.
So yeah, within each stage, you can have as many steps as you like. You can run build tools like Make and Maven. You can call out to different web services if you want. Jenkins plugins expose a whole bunch of different steps. So if you install a new plugin and it supports pipeline, then what you can do is go and use the editor and search for that step and define the step in the editor, or you can add the step right here in the Jenkins file. Now, if I go and have a look at the other branch here that I created, the add more test stage branch, you can see here that when we made that modification, it added this parallel block so that the original test stage is now run concurrently with more tests. So really one of the super powerful things about Blue Ocean is that if you do feel comfortable, if you don't feel comfortable editing a configuration file to define your pipeline, you can always go and use the editor. And people on the same team who feel more comfortable editing in their favorite text editor, like VI or Atom or even IntelliJ IDEA or Eclipse, can go ahead and edit this file directly. And then it's possible to go and see those changes then reflected in the UI in Jenkins, both in the visualization and in the editor itself. So you really don't have to, with Blue Ocean and declarative, you really don't have to choose between, well, like if I edit the text file, the Jenkins file using my text editor, and I change a bunch of things, that's going to mean that users, other developers who like to use the editor now can't actually use that editor anymore. That's not the case. So with Blue Ocean, you can choose both, and you can switch between the 2 modes of working whenever you like. Cool.
Hey, James, there was actually just one question on the online as well, on the IRC channel. So I see you're working on GitHub here. This is on GitHub.com. Does this also work on the self-hosted GitHub Enterprise?
Yes. Oh, and not for GitHub Enterprise. So on our roadmap, so since we've just launched Blue Ocean 1.0, we're doing a bit of a bug fix and technical debt sprint at the moment. So roughly about 4 weeks I think we have left on it. And that means that we're not building any new features. We're just kind of fixing bugs and cleaning things up so that we can develop these new features faster. And there are a couple of features that we are planning on building. And one of them is the support for GitHub Enterprise. So just like we go back here, new pipeline, you'll get a button here that will say GitHub Enterprise. And if what I had done sort of prior to this presentation was provided, say if I come in here the first time and I pick GitHub, it will actually ask me like what my access key for GitHub is. Now, it's probably a good thing that I'm not including that on a jam recording for all eternity. So I went and pre-filled that. But when that option does display in this sort of step, in this kind of wizard flow, it will ask you for the where your GitHub Enterprise is actually located. So I believe it's technically not a lot of work for us to do it. It's just a matter of timing.
Okay. So yeah, in the next sprint or so. Great. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. Cool. Alrighty. So what I'll go and do is I really want to kind of show you some of the visualizations that are possible in Blue Ocean. So what I've done, I've created this new pipeline here called App Store Demo. So if I load this one up in my visual pipeline editor here, you can see that I've got a build step here that goes out and calls Maven, produces some source jars along the way. I did some testing, and actually this is kind of just mocked out the testing bit. It's wanted for demonstration purposes. We want this to be really quick. Most pipelines run for 20 or 30 minutes. That's sort of the the length of this this jam. So I wanted to make it nice and quick. So yeah, you can see the App Store demo. So one of the great things here is about the pipeline editor is that it is what you see is what you get. So that means that whatever you define in the visual editor is what you'll see displayed to users when they go and run the pipeline itself. So if I click cancel, I'll just exit out of that. So let's go and run a pipeline. And as you can see, that looks pretty much exactly the same as how my my visualization looks. There we go. So here it is going off and building my my source jar. Now, as this actually builds and the pipeline executes, we're actually following along that process of execution. So it makes it possible for me to go back and I can go click on build and browse things. I can click back on static analysis and see what's going on there. So it's actually really quite browsable, right? So I always know when the pipeline is executing, what stage in the pipeline we're at. If I need to go back, it's just a click away. Historically, the steps of my pipeline, here's one called deploy, where I've removed the deployment phase. But you can kind of see that, as I click around, I can see the previous, all the steps that I defined in the editor. Like the logs for those steps are like broken up by step. So it's really easy to see, what each step in the pipeline did or what each stage in the pipeline did. Now, however, say if I have a failure, and so what I'll do, I'll go ahead and I'll go and make something fail. Let's make browser test fail. Let's just do something like put a little bit of garbage in the shell step here. So what we should see when I go and run this pipeline is that the Firefox parallel within the browser's test stage will fail, and then hopefully it's going to show me exactly where the failure is when I click through. So let's create a new branch with my Jenkins file changes. So we'll call this one topic fails all the time. You'll just have to excuse my my poor internet connection here in Australia. We have notoriously bad broadband. So you can see that this topic fails all the time, the first run of that branch. We'll just wait for that to start executing.
So James, while you're waiting for that, maybe hit refresh. There was a question on the IRC about the steps being shown, the high level, labels for those, the summaries, and someone was asking whether or not there's a way to alias those so that they're more meaningful to your pipeline.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's a great question, and something that does come up quite frequently. So yeah, we do realize that the descriptions of these steps here are not particularly useful. So it can be kind of difficult to match the description of this shell script up with, its equivalent, shell script step here in the editor. So, there have been a number of different suggestions given to us about, like, how people kind of want to name these. And I think one of the best ways that we can make this work is just to make it work transparently. So we actually have some work in progress today that will actually inspect the running shell script, or the finished, well, sorry, inspect any step and figure out what that step is going to do. So in this case, we're running maybe clean source jar package, right? So what we're going to end up with is, we'll have a step here called, maybe clean source jar package, and then we'll say that the type of this step is a shell script. So we won't be doing any aliasing because that requires some additional language features in declarative and in scripted pipeline in order for us to provide that custom alias. But we will be making it very, very easy for people to see what those steps are based on the content of the step, if that makes sense.
So you're going to make Blue Ocean transparently sort of figure this out and do something smart rather than putting the onus on the person writing the pipeline.
That's correct, yeah.
Cool, thanks.
Yeah. Oh, this is just taking a little while. My apologies. Maybe what we can do, we can just come back to this in a second. We'll let this guy run, and we'll come back. So one of the things that we also decided on is, part of making Jenkins more relevant by integrating with the tools that you use. Integration, like everybody uses Git and GitHub. So we'll be doing this for other Git providers. But however, this works best today with GitHub. You can see at the top here, we have 3 tabs: activity, branches, and pull requests. So what I'm looking at here is the activity of this pipeline. So this is all of the runs of all of the branches of my pipeline. I can do things like filter things out, so I'm only seeing the runs from master. I can cancel that. I can look at the this new fail all the time, and we'll come back to that in a minute, and just see the failing run here. If I click across to branches, it's very easy to see all of the branches that are being integrated with this pipeline and their health. So, for example, if fails all the time, then the health of this pipeline could be stormy. So if it fails some of the time, it could be cloudy. If it fails sort of none of the time, then it'll be sunny, just like the history of master here. So you want to see a lot more sunny pipelines than you do stormy ones. Now, if I click over to pull requests, if someone sent me a pull request for the App Store demo repository, Jenkins is automatically going to go and pick that PR up and execute the pipeline for it. So you can see here, we have this one called bug/fix HTTP processor. If I click in there, I can see that, this is PR number 8 on GitHub. If I click on this, it will take me all the way over to GitHub. And on the pull request, it's actually showing as a check that the commit for this pipeline actually looks good. So I can click details and go back to the definition of the pipeline. Now, this is really important, particularly if you work on a team of developers who are collaborating on a particular repository together and a pipeline together. Because if I'm the author of this pipeline, one, I want to make sure that my pipeline works. But second is, I don't want my colleague or my teammate to waste their time reviewing any changes that where all the tests haven't passed, or where other checks have not passed. So it's really important if you're the reviewer of pull requests to have this checking right, this reporting right in GitHub, right? Because it will allow you to go, well, it looks like this change. We had some issues here. So for this particular branch where we updated a license file, and maybe there was maybe the line length was too long in the license file or something like that. So as a reviewer, I know that that commit wasn't really good to go. But then, as I, pulled in some new changes, I updated some Java tests, and I merged in the contents of master into this branch to get some updates, that the changes for this pull request are actually now passing. So that's really highly valuable. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to our failure project and just kind of show you, how Blue Ocean will just quickly hone in on where that failure actually occurred. So if I click on topic fails all the time. Oops. Yeah, cool. Sorry, there's a small bug there that we've actually fixed in Blue Ocean 1.1 with the status updating. It kind of gets confused sometimes. So you can see here that when we're in the editor, and I'll just pop open the editor, we actually made this Firefox step fail. So you can see here that the Firefox parallels failed, and then that this step has actually failed. So we know that looking at this, well, there's some junk in here. But say if I was running, say, my test runner, it would automatically hone in on the fact that you executed your test runner and the test runner failed, and maybe I need to go have a look at my unit tests to see what the test failures are. So it's quite quick. I do get a lot of questions about from people who've been using Jenkins for a long time, and they ask, I have a lot of freestyle jobs. Are my freestyle jobs compatible with Blue Ocean? And the short answer is yes. The more longer answer is that all of the nice things that we have, like the pipeline visualization and the branching and the pull requests, those features can't work with freestyle jobs. They're a different job type. They work in different ways to pipeline. But however, just to as a sort of just to be rest assured, you can see here I have this this freestyle job called Fetal. You can see here if I click over to its configuration, it's very simple. It just does a Maven clean install and reports on its tests. It's a freestyle job type, which you're probably familiar with. If I go ahead and run that freestyle job, here it is, doing its Maven clean install and running the tests. Great, cool, that finished. So you can see here that the big difference between freestyle jobs and pipeline jobs in Blue Ocean is that pipeline is able to visualize better the steps that have occurred within the job, and also the phases, like the stages of that job. So we can't have that visualization here. However, things like getting the list of changes or the tests that this job is actually executing and reporting on them, we can easily report on all of those things. So those are the sort of things that are common across jobs, and even in artifacts. One of my favorite features in Blue Ocean is personalization, or is the personalized dashboard. So really, when you come to Jenkins, you're usually coming to Jenkins because something has gone wrong, right? So we really wanted to make Jenkins more relevant for developers when they first enter inside the user interface. Simple favoriting system. So we have these little stars here. Hopefully this is showing up okay on the video feed. If I go ahead and click these, I can add a favorite card to my dashboard for, say, the freestyle job, and for online jam demo, and even App Store demo. So if I favorite from the dashboard, if I favorite a pipeline, what I'm really doing is favoriting the default branch of that pipeline. So in the case of Git, usually the default branch is master, although that is configurable, and Blue Ocean will pick up when that changes. So if I go into, say, my App Store demo and look at my branches, I can see here that master is favorited. What I can also do is click favorite on topic fails all the time. So if I go back to my dashboard and say in a scenario, I've come in the morning and I've noticed that, oh, a change that I made last night to that branch doesn't work, I can just quickly click through and see very, very, very quickly where that failure had occurred. I can then exit out, go back to my dashboard. So you can zoom into where the failures are in Blue Ocean in one click, and I think that's a big differentiator from the classic UI. So to kind of do the sort of similar do a similar operation in classic, if I click on the little exit, we go to classic here. I would see that it's failing. I'm not entirely sure why it's failing. I could click on console output. There's a lot of console output. Scroll, 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 all the way to the bottom. Where is it? Oh yeah, here we go. I know what I'm looking for, but if you didn't know what you were looking for, this could take a couple of minutes to scroll through all the logs and read the logs and find out where the problem is. But in Blue Ocean, it is just a click away. So if I go back, oops. Focus is zooming. So that's the personalized dashboard. All righty. So you might be wondering sort of what's up next for the Blue Ocean project. What are we working on? We're going to be posting a public roadmap on our homepage at jenkins.io/project/Blue Ocean. However, what I can tell you is that for the Blue Ocean team, we really want to focus on making the experience around that pipeline editor even better. So there's a lot of work that we need to do to make Blue Ocean visual editor have feature parity with declarative. So there's a lot of great features in declarative pipeline. So for running post steps, there's stage level configurations, all sorts of really great things in declarative that we want to make sure are reflected in the editor. But I think a big challenge here is that as we add more features to the editor becomes less simple. So we need to do some design work here to figure out, we really got to think about that beginner user coming in and trying to do continuous delivery for the first time. So if we map in all of those features, we really want to make sure that that doesn't really get in the way of that novice developer who's creating that CD pipeline for the first time. But it also means that we don't want to hide those features, so it's really difficult for the more intermediate or advanced users to access those features. So it's a real sort of balancing act here that we have to perform in order to make sure all of the different user types who will be using the editor are well served by it. And that kind of also leads into support for other version controls providers, Git providers, I should say. So today we don't really have any plans to support, say, Subversion or Perforce with that new pipeline flow. It's kind of quite difficult to support it even in the Git case. There was a question earlier, are we going to support GitHub Enterprise? So yes, we are going to support GitHub Enterprise. That is coming shortly. But we also want to go and support that new pipeline flow for Git repositories. So if I actually go back, extra time here. I click new pipeline, and maybe what we can do is let's grab another repository here. It's called Chesterfield. Sounds good. I put in my repository URL and I click create pipeline. It's actually not going to offer me the ability to go and edit that pipeline using the visual pipeline editor and author it for the first time. So you can see in that Chesterfield repo that we don't actually have a Jenkins file. So one of the things that we're going to be adding next is the ability to read and write that Jenkins file to any Git repository. So it doesn't matter if you're using GitLab, Bitbucket, Gogs, Gitea, you're hosting your own Git repository server, using the open source Git server daemon and all those sorts of things. Like, it doesn't matter what system is hosting that Git repository, we want to talk to it and allow that reading and writing of the Jenkins file, just as an easy way as we've made it work for GitHub. So that's coming, and we do have a kind of a proof of concept of that working. However, we want to make sure that because the differences between there is a sort of tangible difference between the requirements of GitHub and Git in terms of authentication mechanism, etc., and forks, that we really need to kind of make focus in on, like, how we can make that experience for Git just as easy as the GitHub one. And that's really the challenge. So a lot of the things in Blue Ocean that we've built, the challenge actually hasn't been building the technology. The challenge has been in presenting it in a clear and concise way, in a usable way, so that we're the ones that have to, as the authors of Blue Ocean, we're the ones that have to deal with the complexity. You as the user do not have to deal with it. We are also looking at adding a fast search to the Blue Ocean dashboard. So one of the limitations today is, and I'll just pop over to our team's own Blue Ocean server, and I'll zoom in here. One of the limitations here is that if you do have more than 25 pipelines, the dashboard will give you this show more button, which allows you to page through more of the dashboard. So that's and that's not working quite well on our development server, but the point here is that it can get quite tedious if you're searching for a particular pipeline in here, just to click show more, show more. So there'll be an area up the top here where you can activate with a keyboard shortcut and just start typing the name of the pipeline you're looking for, and have this whole dashboard, including the favorites, filtered down to that query. So it'll be a really, really quick way to look up pipelines. Alrighty. So if you want to learn more about Blue Ocean, you can visit our site at jenkins.io/project/Blue Ocean. We also, we do, it's Blue Ocean and Jenkins are open source projects, so we do all of the, development out in the open. So we have, there's a GitHub repository that contains all the Blue Ocean code. If this feels like, if you feel like contributing anything to Blue Ocean, you can just follow that link there, and we've got links to all of the details of like where you can find the repository. We also use the Jenkins Jira issue tracker to track all of our development work. We even have like one of those Kanban boards there for the sort of paid members of the team to use throughout the day as they're working on features. So you're more than welcome to go and have a look at that as well. Links are up on the webpage. And we also have a team chat and a community chat on GitHub, which is kind of like, you can kind of think of it as like IRC or Slack or HipChat for Git. You can chat with us at on GitHub at that bit.ly link on the screen. Just like to say thank you to Liam and Alyssa for organizing the jam, and thanks for watching.
Hey, all right, James, thank you very much for this presentation. There was one of the question about that we had on the IRC channel about customization and extension of Blue Ocean, and when there might be some developer documentation for how to do that.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So we are, so at the moment there is some work going on to, it is possible today to extend the Blue Ocean front end. So we use React.js from Facebook for all the UI components. And we do have a sort of a rudimentary way of extending, providing your own React components to the UI, and then you can, call out to, Blue Ocean's REST API. So there's a brand new REST API in Blue Ocean that we built to kind of power the UI. However, we realized, we actually use those extension points to build Blue Ocean itself. And as we've been building Blue Ocean for the last year, we've kind of realized there are some sort of rudiment, like I guess how rudimentary like that implementation of the extension point system is. So there is work at the moment to go through, and we're going to send a proposal to the Jenkins UX mailing list, proposing a new extension system, and one of the design goals of this extension system is to have a SDK-like experience for building Blue Ocean plugins. So if you've used the HPI plugin, the Maven HPI plugin to create Maven plugins, Maven projects that are Jenkins plugins, it's actually really quite simple, and there's like good examples when we go and run the code generator for that. So we want to at least have that kind of experience for Blue Ocean plugins, if not better. So that's, we are actively working on that. Like we're in a situation where we don't feel that we are productive enough as a team to be able to build Blue Ocean itself without solving this problem. So expect it in the next expect something usable in sort of the next couple of months. But we are working really hard on making that possible.
Great, thank you very much. All right, I think that's I'm not seeing any other questions right now. So thank you very much, James, for taking the time to show us this. And I look forward to seeing all the great new things you guys are working on coming up next.
Cool, thanks, Liam.
All right.
And thank you everyone for watching.